Once upon a time, in a picturesque village nestled amidst rolling green hills and lush meadows, lived a young shepherd boy. This boy was tasked with the important job of watching over the village's flock of sheep. Every day, he would lead the fluffy animals to the pastures, ensuring they grazed safely. The days in the meadows could sometimes feel long and monotonous for the young shepherd. He would sit on a small knoll, his eyes scanning the horizon, keeping a vigilant watch over the grazing sheep. However, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, a sense of boredom often crept into the boy's mind. He yearned for some excitement, a break from the quiet routine of his daily task. He began to think of ways to amuse himself, to stir up some activity in the otherwise tranquil landscape. One day, an idea sparked in his mind, a mischievous plan that he thought would bring him some entertainment. Without hesitation, the young shepherd boy stood up and cupped his hands around his mouth. In a loud and urgent voice, he began to shout, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is chasing the sheep! Help! Help!" His cries echoed across the fields, piercing the peaceful atmosphere of the village. The villagers, who were busy with their daily chores, heard the distressed cries and immediately reacted. Fear gripped their hearts as they thought of the danger facing their precious livestock. Men dropped their tools, women abandoned their work, and children rushed out of their homes. They arrived at the pasture, their hearts pounding with concern, ready to confront the predator. However, as they looked around, they saw no sign of a wolf. The sheep were grazing calmly, unaware of any threat. The only person visibly amused was the young shepherd boy, chuckling at the commotion. The villagers were not amused. They felt fooled and annoyed by the boy's false alarm. They scolded him severely, emphasizing the seriousness of his actions and the unnecessary fear he had instilled in them. They warned him never to do such a thing again, reminding him of the consequences. Shortly after this incident, however, the shepherd boy's boredom returned. He once again longed for some excitement to break the monotony of his day. Forgetting the villagers' warnings, he decided to repeat his antic. He once again raised a cry of "Wolf! Wolf!" his voice ringing through the air. Once again, the villagers heard his pleas for help. Though some were hesitant, remembering the previous false alarm, the thought of a real wolf attacking their sheep prompted them to respond. They once again hurried towards the meadow, their faces etched with a mixture of worry and irritation. And once again, they found no wolf. The sheep were safe, and the shepherd boy was laughing at his successful prank. The villagers were now even more upset than before. They reprimanded the boy more strongly, expressing their disappointment and anger at his repeated deception. Days turned into weeks, and the shepherd boy continued his duties, though perhaps a little more quietly. Then, one fateful afternoon, as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the meadows, the unthinkable happened. A real wolf, large and menacing, emerged from the trees. This time, the danger was real. Fear gripped the shepherd boy as he watched the wolf stalk closer to the sheep. He knew he had to act quickly. In a panicked voice, he cried out with all his might, "Wolf! Wolf! A real wolf! Please help! The wolf is attacking the sheep!" He jumped up and down, waving his arms frantically, trying to alert anyone who might be within earshot. He continued to shout, his voice raw with fear, pleading for assistance to save the flock from the predator. But this time, the village remained silent. The villagers heard the familiar cry of "Wolf," but they dismissed it as another one of the boy's pranks. They remembered his previous lies, and convinced themselves that he was once again trying to fool them for his own amusement. No one came running. No one raised a hand to help. The poor shepherd boy watched in horror, as the wolf pounced on the helpless sheep. He tried to intervene, but he was no match for the strong and ferocious animal. The wolf snatched several sheep, and the boy could only watch in despair as his flock was attacked.